How are you?
Good. You?
Living a dream. Yeah, living a dream.
You rested up after that long road trip? Got energized? Everybody?
Do I look like it?
Yeah, you do,
Do I?
actually.
I got a
You look
haircut.
rejuvenated.
I got a haircut, that's why. Got them all cut, just like you.
My haircut doesn't take that long.
Well, Texas Tech, I mean, any different than they were when you saw them a few weeks ago? I mean, a couple different personnel things with them. So how does that change them?
Well, they won some games. I think they're playing with a lot more confidence now. And well, he's a good coach, and he's had time to. They're doing some different things than what they were. They're really driving the ball. Really doing a good job driving the ball.
I guess the cliff notes from talking to Stevenson is their freshmen aren't killing them anymore. They're veteran players, and the young guys that were giving them issues aren't doing that anymore.
Well, who am I to dispute what Eric would say? You know.
But net of it is they're playing better.
Yeah, they've won some games. I mean, I think when you win some games, I think you're a little more motivated. They were Iowa State. They were really good. They were really good. They really attacked the rim, put a lot of pressure on the rim.
What about Texas?
Texas is really good.
So was that a combination of them, Texas not playing as well? Was that a combination of Texas Tech playing great against them?
I think it was Texas was pretty happy they beat us like a drum, which I think happens, you know.
Ball movement is vital against these guys, the way they play, reversing the ball and that type of thing. That's the deal.
Sounds like you've been talking to Eric.
Well, I was actually Josh's scouting report from the first time I remembered. Yeah.
They overload a side,
Yeah.
but they did that before. They're gonna really stack the ball side to try to stop penetration, try to make you shoot the ball over top of them, which is good. As long as you can recover the reversals, and that's a very sound way to play. He's a good coach. I mean, he's been coaching forever. I mean, he's a really good coach.
Speaking of coaches, you've had a lot of guys that have come up through you that have been coaches. Now, with obviously Joe and Darius and Calhoun and all these guys. Is there a common theme when they're coming up, even if they're not quite ready? Do you see them? And then, obviously we talked to Eric. He wants to coach. Do you see that in young guys, that it's there?
Well, Darius was Darius had a great perception as to what was going on, what was supposed to go on. Had a great feel. Kind of really understood the game, and I think John did a great job with him, and Joe, I think Joe got better and better, and I think Joe, as we kind of all do, you start to realize that your future is not as a player. It's more in some other aspect of the game. It doesn't have to be coaching, but something like Johnny West. I mean, Johnny is pretty high up in the organization in terms of selecting who's on the team, who's not on the team, that kind of thing. And I mean, everybody has their own ideas, and I think Darius always wanted to be a coach. Joe wanted to be a coach, but it was Joe didn't really want to be a college coach. Joe always had his sight on the NBA. And he did a great job of working his way up through that.
Does it help that a lot of those guys, sort of like you, they came up with dads who are coaches or, in the family? Darius's dad, obviously.
I didn't get a vote. I didn't.
Help you later in life, maybe not when you're a kid going through it.
Well, yeah. Obviously, yeah. But when you're going through it, it's not a lot of fun. But yeah, I got a lot of opportunities because of my dad's name. Actually, what happened was, I was a GA here. I went to Ohio State. I was at Ohio State for 2 as an assistant for Coach Miller. And then my dad actually was going to take the Walsh College job till he found out what the pay was. And when he found out what the pay was, he said, "You probably need to call my son." and so they did, and I wanted to be a head coach, so I took the job. But it really was his job.
Coach, Texas Tech could be a team that you guys see in the Big 12 tournament as well, if you just kind of project things out. So does that kind of add anything to this game tomorrow if you guys are able to get a sweep and then have to see them again?
No, Justin, our focus is to try to win the rest of our games here and move up, obviously, in the league standings, and obviously move up in where we're seated in the NCAA tournament. That's our focus. We haven't really talked at all about the conference tournament. We need to win games, and I think our guys realize that.
How the practice has been?
Really good yesterday. Yesterday might have been as good a practice as we've had in a long time.
Sense that the guys sense that, hey, this is the climactic point of the season. We got to.
Every day's a new day, John. Every day.
But at least yesterday it was.
Yesterday they were very good.
You were in the Big East when they put 11 teams in the NCAA tournament and 9. But is this the best league top to bottom you've been in, even some of those at Cincinnati?
There's no bottom in this league. That's the difference. The Big East had great teams. It was a great league, but there was a bottom. There's no bottom here. You look at what everybody's done in this league, and it's incredible. I think the coaching, even the teams that in the Big East that weren't whatever, the elite teams or whatever, the coaching was really good. They just didn't have good enough players. I think here the coaching is really good, and they got players. You look at our deal. We miss 3 free throws against Baylor, or we beat Baylor the first time we played Baylor here. We missed 2 free throws, or we beat Oklahoma the first time we played Oklahoma. We've had opportunities. We very well, instead of having 4 league wins, we could have 7 or 8 if we had taken care of what we had to take care of, and it's generally been at the end of games. And that was more early than it is now. But I think that happens in this league a lot because everything is so. Baylor hits a shot to beat us at the buzzer. We've been in every game other than maybe Kansas, and they made every shot seemingly, but we've been right there. We just haven't finished games. Not counting Texas, Justin. Yeah.
Is there any reason the Big East, not the Big East, the Big 12 developed into the basketball conference it is as compared? Is it possible because it's a smaller conference and you're spreading around 120 players instead of however many it is in a 17-team league or whatever?
Bob, I think the athletic directors made a very conscious effort because it was, to a degree, it was really about football. And I think the athletic directors made a conscious effort that they were going out and get really good basketball coaches. And you get really good basketball coaches, you're going to have a much better team. And I think that happened. I think basketball in general got better in those states out there, and I think they did a really good job of recruiting, everywhere. But I think when there's players in your state and your surroundings, I think it really helps you. And I think that happened. So, but it's if you think back about it, I mean, it's always been a pretty doggone good conference, though. When you think when Lon was in the height of his coaching deal, when Eddie Sutton was there, they've had great coaches. Coach Knight was there.
You and Knight went over from different leagues.
Yeah.
Texas basketball may be undersold a little bit. You talk about. I'm latching on to something you said about Scott and how he develops players and all the player development. Do you think maybe sometimes it's maybe a little undersold, some of these Oklahoma, Texas areas where you're recruiting kids?
John, when you get on a bus and you ride from Austin just to Waco, you realize how big a state it really is. And you're going by how many junior colleges and high schools, and I mean there's so many people there. Yeah. And there's a bunch of cities there. And you look at what they've got there. You go Texas Tech, you go Houston. You just go on and on and on. They got Texas Tech. They got a bunch of high level things. I think Coach Knight coming into Texas, I think that helped. I think he kind of could. When people talked about the great coaches, it wasn't all the football coaches after a while. When you got Coach Knight there and you got Lon there and you got those guys there as well. And it just continued to get better. Jamie leaves Pitt and goes to TCU. Jamie was one of the top coaches in the Big East when he was at Pitt. So there you got really good coaches realizing there's a whole bunch of really good players. And when I was at Cincinnati, we recruited the heck out of Texas. I mean, if you look at our roster, we had a bunch of Texas guys. The National Player of the Year, the number one pick in the draft, was a Texas guy. So.
Oklahoma, Kansas, same deal. Junior colleges there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, junior college, high schools. I mean, you look at what Bill did. Bill's got two guys playing in the NBA that, they grew up right probably 10 minutes from school. We tried to recruit both of them, and he snuck in there and got them both.
Well, I was thinking of the kid from Ames that's starting for them as a freshman was not a highly rated guy. He's a hell of a player.
He's very good.
A guy that got hurt, and
but
nobody talked about him, and he's starting on a.
They're not highly rated because they're not seen. There's so many kids, Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of guys playing basketball in West Virginia that we don't know about. Not we don't know about, but people don't know about.
Well, that's played into why the league's so good then. Developing them.
Players will do that. Players will make the league pretty good.
Bob, you said that practiced well yesterday. I imagine that's a good sign, and maybe something that you'd like to do more at the end of the season, obviously. Apart from making shots or rebounding, or just fundamental things. Are there things you look for a team to do better or pull together toward the end of the season, like practice or recovery or I don't know, just handling things better? I guess that falls in that category.
I don't know, Mike. As the season goes on, I think you don't go near as long. You probably don't go near as hard. You spend more time watching film, looking at the things that you didn't do well, looking at the things you did do well. trying to accentuate what you did do well. And you know, we're playing like now it seems like we're playing every 1 or 2 days. And again, man, I'm telling you, you don't realize it till you do it, but the travel with us is brutal. I mean, it's freaking brutal. And those other people don't have to worry about that. And they don't do what we do.
Amex return for Tech. What's it meant for them? And and obviously he's only played a few games, but seems like he's
Gives them another quality big, who's a very skilled big. He's really big, and he's very skilled.
You guys took a look at him, right? Or when he first went in the portal? Or?
Yeah. There's a lot of things going on in that portal, Justin.
You had any conversations with Jose Perez about his future? Anything you can share with us about what he wants to do next year?
He likes it here. But I mean, how many people have you known that didn't like it here? People are good to you here. People are good to you. You got a great place to play. You're playing the best league in the country. You're on TV all the time. What's not to like?
He'll be back next year with you.
I don't think there's any doubt.
Going on, just kind of what I was asking earlier a little bit. Does playing the team a second time and understanding them better and everything you said before, they see it for the first time in the court. You come back, you say it a second time, and they can take that with the experience of actually going on the floor with it too. It just seems like confidence can go up, or maybe like the unknown goes away, and maybe second performances are better, and that leads to improvements or just taking things a little bit more seriously.
Well, they probably played better after they played us. They won games after they played us. He's a good coach.
Not just Texas Tech, but
In general, well, you should. I mean, if it's kind of like the reason we scrimmage early in the season is so you can play against somebody else, so that you can get better. I mean, so it would stand to reason that after you've played, what do we got? We got what, maybe 4 or 5 games left, something like that. After you've played that many games, obviously you should have learned something.
What's turned the light on in Emmett Matthews, or has something? I mean, I know he's been a good player, but he's kind of taken over at times now.
Oh, I mean, we've had some talks. I mean, Emmett really wanted to come back here and finish here. I mean, that was very important to him. You look at our team, and it's not like we normally have here. The portal and the transfers and all that, and I think everybody trying to get comfortable. And Emmett is one of those guys that Emmett wants to do all the right things, and sometimes the right things really aren't the right things to do. He has no problem taking a back seat, so to speak, to some other guys if he thinks that they're capable of doing some things that maybe he hasn't done. And I think now he's to the point that I'm not going to go out this way. This isn't why I came back, and he's been a lot more aggressive. I think at both ends of the floor.
You support that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Anything else? Thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.